a global voice for humanity.
9:40 exactly right here on Salam Media. Hope that you're enjoying the interviews lined up for you this morning. Next, we will be talking with Dr. Eyita-Okon, a post-doctoral research fellow at the Center for Africa-China Studies at the University of Johannesburg. Now, on Sunday, the Democratic Republic of Congo Army and its Ugandan allies said that they had destroyed rebel strongholds in the country's restive east. What exactly is going on there? Is that in fact true, and how is it impacting on the region? Uh, Dr. Eyita Okon, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the program, and nice to have you with us.
Thank you. Good morning to you and to your listeners.
Um, I recognize that voice. We've talked in the past a couple of times, so it's lovely to have you on lovely to have you on the show again. I just didn't recognize the name, but I recognize the voice. So let's understand what's happening in that part of Africa and how is it going to impact on the region.
That's a great question. So the region of the Northern Kivu has been unstable. There's been constant or incessant fighting in the region, of course, rooted in the colonial dispute and, of course, ethnic grievances between the DRC, Rwanda, and Rwanda as well. And there's been dispute over ancestral land, access to natural resources, and so on and so forth. So what we're seeing now is that we've gotten to a point where the different countries in the region, the DRC, Rwanda, Uganda, are pulling together resources to manage and try to address the instability that has been driven by a long time by rebel groups, varying rebel groups. I think in the region, we can safely say there's about, 45 unique non-state armed groups operating there in the North Kivu province as of 2020. And now different countries in the different countries in this region are pooling resources together to share intelligence, to provide the necessary assistance to ensure that these rebel groups are being curbed, the attacks are being reduced. And as a result, this year, President Felix of the DRC instated a state of siege in North Kivu, which is a situation where, the apparatus of the state are given more power, especially the army, to ensure that there's some level of peace and stability in the Northern Kivu region. So what we're seeing now, based on that news report, is that they are reporting that they've been able to dispel the ADF, which is the Alliance Democratic Front. They've been able to dispel them from the region, Ituri, which is a shared region with Uganda and the DRC, be able to dispel them to ensure that they don't have more attacks on individuals or Congolese or Ugandans or Rwandans that live in that particular geographical location.
Okay, and this all in the name of self-determination, self-rule, and territory, which they believe is, it has been mapped out for their people and their rule. But having said that, what is also very problematic is we know the army have attacked positions of the ADF, who have been accused of massacres in eastern DR Congo and also bomb blasts in Uganda. But they are now based in the Virunga National Park. That, I should imagine, have quite an impact as far as tourism revenues are concerned as well, and for people that live in that locality.
That's correct. However, I think of more serious effect of more the issue of rebel groups and the fact that they could easily launch what the U.S. would term as terrorist attacks on individuals in that region, even including tourists. I think is weighted more. And the fact that the government itself and the governments of the different countries, so DRC, Rwanda, and Uganda, are indeed prioritizing the peace and stability of the province, because once there is some level of peace and stability in the DRC, in the North Kivu province, you can definitely be certain of some spillover effect into Rwanda and into Uganda. So it is essential that they pull resources together. That's one. Two, The fact that under the state of siege, as initiated by President Felix of the DRC, I think it gives the army um, power. The state has given the army power to ensure that they take the necessary measures to quell any form or at least be on the offensive or the defensive should any armed group want to launch an attack on. So I think, unfortunately, it has gotten to a point where the government has to resort to violence as a last resort to ensure that some level of peace and stability in the region. But what we've seen now with this report by the armed forces stating that they've been able to capture 35 allied democratic forces and also dispel them from different districts and different villages there in Ituri. I think for me, this stems from the criticism that they got from Amnesty International, I think in October this year, stating that since President Felix had announced the state of siege in April this year, there's not been much done to this effect. They haven't seen the results, the effect, or the impact of the state of siege. And now in December, with this report coming to say that 35 ADF terrorists have been captured and expelled from different provinces, and that they would no longer be camping, or the potentiality for threat has been minimized. I think for one stems from the criticism they got, but also just I guess to prove that something is being done, some results are being attained from that decision by President Felix. And I mean, despite the casualties and despite the collateral damage, we just looking or monitoring the situation to see, what happens in the first half of 2022, if this would be sustainable, if the presence of the army or the armed forces of the state are able to indeed effectively reduce any potentiality for terrorism, I think. But one thing of caution as well would be to ensure that indeed the individuals that have been captured should indeed be, ADF quote unquote terrorists, because we don't want a repeat of the same strategy with the Boko Haram and the pulling together of the resources by the multinational joint task force in the Lake Chad Basin, where you had Nigerian armed forces invading villages and burning down houses, all in the name of hunting Boko Haram terrorists. So I think if there's a lesson to be learned there, it would be that to ensure that intelligence is being properly shared, and whoever is being captured are indeed ADF terrorists. Because if you capture ordinary villagers, it just leads to or causes some level of resentment against the state, and this whole state of siege would have been to no effect in the first place.
Dr. Eyita-Okon, thank you indeed for explaining it so precisely. We do hope and pray common sense prevails, and you have yourself a very, very safe festive period and a wonderful 2022. Go well and all the very best.
Thank you, sir.
9:49 exactly right here on Salam Media News and Views. Still to come on the show, we'll be talking to Maulana Mohammed Matwa, PR of Al Fida Foundation.
Looking to get your kick? Kiki's have